Philosophy and science. Philosophy versus science. Philosophy is a kind of proto-science. What it can be made before all sciences are made possible. From Wittgenstein. And from Kenny, philosophy is the cradle of sciences. Austin has had a view that in his essays he summarized as follows. Philosophy is the initial central sun, seminal and tumultuous, that from time to time shows off some portion of itself to take station as a science, a planet, cool and well regulated, progressing steadily towards a distant final state. This happened long ago at the birth of mathematics and again at the birth of physics. Only in the last century we have witnessed the same process once again, slow and at the time almost imperceptible, in the birth of the science of mathematical logic through the joint labors of philosophers and mathematicians. This is a beautiful passage where he summarizes the point. Austin himself wished to develop a branch of science born from the philosophy, and called it by him Theory of Speech Acts. This was published post-mortem under the title How to Do Things with Words. The theory is taught today in linguistic courses, and he was also successful in doing this. We can see the relationship between philosophy and science when we consider the birth of Occidental philosophy under the Presocratics. Characteristic of that philosophy was the replacement of the explanation of natural phenomena by means of principles like water, fire, air, being, numbers, atoms, instead of by means of the intervention of gods. Important is to note that this was only possible because they already knew rudiments of scientific explanations derived from the knowledge of mathematics, geometry, and some empirical knowledge of astronomy and engineering, taken particularly from the Egypt. They could obviously not establish scientific laws, but they could produce something conjectural or speculative with the form of science, like those principles. Maybe the best example is the suggestion that the universe would be constituted by atoms, invisible and indivisible particles by Democritus and Leucippus. They could not prove the existence of atoms, but they could produce speculative ideas that had the form of a theory. Another example was given by Popper. Anaximander suggested that the Earth was a dish floating under the stars, and because of this incapable to fall to one or the other side. Popper says that in this way Anaximander was anticipating the ideas of gravity and inertia. Auguste Comte developed a theory that supports the view suggested above. According to him, there are three evolutionary stages. First, the religious. Phenomena are explained by means of anthropological projections. Second, the metaphysical, explanation by principles. And finally, the third, the positive stage of science of explanation based upon observation of nomological regularities. In reality, it's more complicated, but we let it so. In the metaphysical stage, the explanation was not given by divinities, according to Comte, but by natural powers, essential properties, abstract entities. These entities are personified abstractions, like vital experience. For Comte, the metaphysical stage was necessary because only by means of it human mind could achieve the force to persist observing until reaching the scientific stage. If we consider the principles of the pre-Socratic philosophers, we must give Comte more reason. They were in the middle way between These principles were in the middle way between mental and natural entities, either being both or being the negation of both. Not only water, fire, air, being, atoms, numbers, the forces of love and hate are under the pre-Socratic principles, but also Plato's ideas, Aristotle's primum motor, Locke's hidden substances, Spinoza's God, Kant's think in itself, the transcendental I, in Husserl, for example, Hegel's absolute, Wittgenstein's unspeakable. They work as metaphysical principles or concepts. However, these words would express dirty concepts which take their meaning from others. Important to see is that this does not explain the philosophical analysis of ordinary concepts like knowledge, truth, thought, justice, freedom of will, perception, identity, personal identity, and so on. These words point to clean concepts, so we could think that they have a difficult but implicitly learned grammar, and that they would be saved from this objection. Objection from Anthony Kemeny in his study on Aquinas. Philosophical central domains like metaphysics, theory of meaning, ethics are at the service of overviews, and because of this, they will always remain philosophical. The answer that we could give to Kemeny is that, well, we could have an overview based on science, why not? Moreover, maybe this only seems impossible due to the present often reductionist concepts of science, like Popper's delimitation of science as consisting of theories that resist refutation by experience. Here I propose we apply a more adequate definition of science due to John Zeman. Science is consensualizable knowledge. Consensualizable knowledge. Neologism. Scientific theories are those that, at least in principle, can find agreement among specialists concerning their truth. This is what means consensualizable knowledge. This is a very wide concept of science, which seems to cover anything we usually call science. This concept contradicts that of philosophy, contradicts directly that of philosophy, which has as a necessary condition to be a non-consensualizable form of knowledge. So we have non-consensualizable knowledge, philosophical, or wisdom, or wissen, and science consensualizable knowledge. We can now, to some extent, grasp the relation between philosophical and scientific activity as present in the triangle. There should be a direction from the basis to the top, the scientific edge of the triangle, historically. And also, we have artistical, aesthetic traits and religious mystical traits that were very important in the beginning, but less important insofar as philosophy approaches to science. The artistic, aesthetic, and religious mystical traits decrease their role insofar as philosophy gets near to science. Well, this is about the relationship between philosophy and science.